What is up, guys? So, with the new Blackwood chapter coming out, I decided to jump back into Elder Scrolls Online to check out the new content. It's been about 9 months since I last played a little bit through Greymore, and I felt like I needed to reach out to some knowledgeable folks from the game that have been ESO partners for a while and get some takes into, what's changed between the Champion Point revamp, the new content from the Greymore chapter and beyond, and just getting insight into a little bit of the PvE and PvP portion of Elder Scrolls. And with that, I decided to tap into my buddy JDUB, which is an ESO partner and has been playing Elder Scrolls Online from Xbox into PC for quite a long time. Very knowledgeable friend and has been killing it when it comes to Elder Scrolls Online. This interview is going to be kind of very open-ended, with hitting some topics on the PvP and PvE side, but I wanted to put it together as somebody who's returning, just in case it helps any of you guys with insight into the Blackwood chapter and beyond on the state of ESO currently. You can find JDUB at twitch.tv/JDUB. I'll have his links in the description below. So let's get right into it. Enjoy. My main question would be, if you're returning to ESO for the expansion, has anything changed in regards to PvP? And is it better or worse since, I guess I last played, which would be for, what's this expansion that came out? Greymore, is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it was Greymore, right?
Yeah, it's been like 6 months. But let's just, okay, so for the clip, for context, the question is, if you're a returning player to ESO for the expansion, has PvP improved for large scale?
Not really. No.
No? Okay, and when you say no, does that include balancing, lag,
No,
all of it?
That's kind of like a loaded question with balance, because right now there's only 12 sets that you can use, and so some classes are gonna just naturally be better, like Nightblades and Sorks and Wardens and Necros, right? Because of their utilities and stuff. So that's that I just sent you. That's with that's like a 1 second combo for Nightblades for the next patch coming up.
Wait, this is so the active time that's 1 second, not 1 minute?
Yeah, it's 1 second.
So he's doing 260,000 damage in 1.07 seconds?
Yeah, it's a little bit, what's the word?
Fucked?
Where you like max buffed and everything.
Oh, okay. So this is like in the most optimal condition.
Right, yeah.
Got it. Okay. So this would be like something that you're saying is like those videos that are like how much DPS you could pump out in X amount of seconds, and like just having just everything.
Like for just kind of like for the.
So,
but yeah, as far as like balance goes, man, like honestly, we're not gonna really know anything until the patch comes out. And the only reason why is because by then, that's when people can actually start using the different sets that everybody's been farming for years, right? So people can actually start using, like Seducer or just like other trial sets, dungeon sets, PvP sets. Like they can actually start using them. So we won't really see anything that's too crazy. I think some classes are, as of right now, I think some classes are just going to overperform, like Nightblades, like Gank Blades. Like they're just going to be destroying people, I think.
And is this because of the balancing with the new champion system?
No. So this has to do with something in the patch notes. I'd have to find it, but something in the patch notes. Let me see if I can find it while we're talking. They added something in the patch notes to where Nightblades, when they came out of stealth and crouch, they do like 270% increased damage.
What?
Yeah,
is this like in the CP system, or is this just something naturally that they do?
Yeah, this is just
What?
So I'd have to try and find it again. I can't remember if it's like 7.0.
So let me ask you this, because it sounds like from like an overview level that the everything you're talking about balancing wise, it comes down to numbers, right? Like it's because the numbers are off right now. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not like a huge math nerd on that stuff,
Yeah.
but I think they just need to. I really don't know what they can do, to be honest. Like they just keep doing different stuff. 275%.
Because I guess my question is, you have this new system in the game, the new champion point system. Obviously, balance is out of whack because they're still fine tuning the numbers there on that side. How confident are you that they're going to be able to bring it around?
As far as like the numbers go, they'll bring that around. Yeah.
And is that what's causing the issue right now with the balancing?
With the balancing?
Yeah.
So the thing is with like ESO is there's no class identity basically, really.
Yep.
There is with some, but it's not. I can't sit there I can't really tell the difference between a Necro and a Warden right now because of the play style that it has.
And it seems like health numbers are all up there as well, right? With the new system.
Yeah, so that's something that they changed with like the CP system. So they took out like the battle spirit for like the increased health. Like when you go into PvP, you get 5k extra health and stuff. Well, they changed that to where that's just like base, and then your spell and weapon damage, that's up there with that's just like base stats. Same thing with like crit resistance and I think a few other stuff. So like your crit resistance, I think is like a flat value of like 1500 or 1600 or whatever, and that's just what you get like no matter what, right? And your health, you gain like the 5k, like all the stats you get like loaded up. So
I see. I'm like taking off my gear right now just to see what my base crit is, my crit resistance is with no gear on.
You can just hover over them and hit E.
Oh, that would have been very helpful. It's looking like 1320 right now with none of my gear on.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And do you think that the new CP system is a step in the right direction, at least?
I think it's better than the old system for a majority of play because it's a lot easier to know where you want to put your points into. It's just when it comes to that aspect, it's a lot easier. And then it comes down to you don't need as much CP now either. So like I think it's a step in the right direction with the CP system.
What's the like number you want to hit CP wise now to feel like you have a complete build?
1350.
1350 CP. That's
max damage and max mitigation.
What was it before?
That's what the update coming up. That's 1350 with the update coming up.
And before that,
right now without the update, it's like 2190.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're working on it. They're obviously they keep improving stuff. One thing that's good that they're doing, at least from a PvE standpoint, is they're nerfing damage. So that's kind of good. This is another thing that's coming up that's going to kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like 50-50 on different people's part, is that, so anything that deals damage, basically, I don't want to say like anything, but a majority of things that deal damage are going to scale off of your weapon or spell damage. And then like healing sets are going to be better if you have max mag or max stam. And then like tanking sets are going to scale off of your resistance and your max health.
So does that affect hybrids?
It could, yeah.
And how's the community responding to that? Because I know there was a lot of like want for hybrid builds to be viable again.
Yeah, so some people really enjoy it. Some people like are for it, and other people are like, "Nah, this is stupid." I'm kind of in the middle where I can see how this is going to be good in some ways, but it's also going to be really bad in other ways because some sets are just like too good. So you have something like with Crimson. Crimson goes off of your max health, so you could have 38k max health with that's the threshold is 38k health, and then the resistance is like 28k. So you can get that in PvP and still have like the max stats for that. Max stats for Crimson. And Crimson is basically just it's like a healing, basically. Like it deals damage, but it heals you for the damage done, 100% of the damage done. So like there's some sets in there that are just going to be so ridiculous because of like certain ultimates that you can use that give you 30k extra health and stuff like that. So you could be walking around with 90k health and max resistance and be shredding people potentially.
So, but is there a direct counter to that right now? Like, is there a way to counter these builds with other build sets? Or is this just like, bro, if you get this, you're untouchable?
The way that PvP is now, it's just it's almost like one big like Zerg anyways.
Right.
For the most part. And there's a reason behind that it is now that way. But I mean, like if you're a solo player, it's not a matter of like how long you're gonna survive. It's just like when you're gonna die. So you like if you have some build like that, I mean, you're still eventually gonna die within. Who knows? It just depends on what Zerg's on you.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
So there's between the lack of class identity and the fact that now everybody can pretty much run around with a choice of 40k health and be damn near unkillable but still do damage, is the meta shifting towards like stacking a lot of crit resistance and just health and just sitting there and being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sit here and do as much damage as I can before I die kind of thing? Or is there...
So that's where kind of like builds go in, like build diversity comes into play a little bit. Obviously you still have like meta sets for certain classes, like, you know, this is better for a max orc because, you know, this and that, right? With the new changes to the sets coming up on the 1st, it may change that a little bit. And with the thing with like crit resistance and stuff, majority of people run Malakath anyways.
Yeah.
So Malakath makes you just do like a shit ton of damage, but you can never crit. So this patch, or like before they implemented like these 12 sets, the majority of people were just running Malakath and nobody ran crit resistance.
Okay.
So now we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see on the 1st because...
So you guys didn't get to test this stuff on the PTR?
What's that?
Like this expansion with the changes to the sets and all that, did you?
I mean, yes and no. So on the PTS, like there's only like so many people that actually get on there and test stuff. So like me and a few of my buddies, and then like my guild gets on and does like trial shit.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of people that get on and test a lot of like PvP stuff. And if they do, they're more than likely just a content creator or somebody who's just trying to, you know, check out some stuff.
So they're not getting good feedback is what you're saying, like outside of the small group.
Yeah, because I think what it comes down to is a lot of people just can't fit the PTS on their computers. And I think that's just like a majority of people that play the game. So it's either like they don't want to buy an external or they just can't fit it on the computer, like regardless.
Wait, how big is this PTS?
It's about the same size.
Oh, so you're looking at like 400, 350 gigs of space just for ESO. I see.
Well, yeah. So it'd be like, what's it now?
It's like 130 when I installed it last night.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually pretty big.
Last time I installed it was like 70 gigs, or we had to reinstall it. It was like down to like 70 gigs or something. So,
yeah, it was actually pretty big. So
yeah, I just installed it. It's I'm installing this 125.
What's that?
125.
125.
Okay.
125.
So
Yeah.
the number one question I want to ask is, how's the lag in PvP?
Okay, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bullshit you. During prime time, I wouldn't touch it ever. Do not go in there during prime
No
time.
matter what, if it's non-CP or CP?
I'm talking like Grey Host, because that's where you're going to find the majority of the fights is Grey Host. But it is just stupid laggy. Black Reach is like no C. I think it's like no CP. I can't remember. No, wait, is it? I can't remember what Black Reach is, but there's like nobody in Black Reach. It's either Grey Host or the no CP campaign.
And
as far as like
it hasn't
which one's
gotten
less
better.
laggy, the no CP campaign is the less laggy.
And it hasn't gotten better with the new champion point system that they thought would fix it?
Okay, so they took away cross healing, right? So like you could only heal people in your group.
Oh, wow, that's pretty huge.
Well, okay, so they did that a while ago, right?
Mhm.
And then they just reverted it so you can cross heal. So like if I'm not in a group with you, I can heal you now.
Why did
When
they revert
did
it?
that,
What was the reasoning behind that?
I think it was because too many. Okay, so their quote was, they didn't see any significant change that it helped improve performance, but as soon as they reverted it back, me and the boys logged on and we went into PvP. And I'm talking, this is like 10 o'clock in the morning where hardly anybody's on, and we're sitting there and like everything looks good, but like there's something going on. Like I didn't have high ping, I didn't have bad FPS, but it felt like I was like during prime time. It was so bad.
And it's still like that?
And that's, yeah, I don't understand. Like they're still keeping it like this, but I don't know. It's so crazy. It's really laggy.
That
when it comes to
sucks.
that.
That's really disappointing to hear, because that's probably one of the biggest things I was excited about. Is like, oh, champion point system fixed lag, you know?
Yeah. Well, the champion point system is really cool. Like they added, it definitely helped out some with certain things. There are certain times that like, and certain days where, PvP is amazing. Like it just works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could go pretty much all the way up until probably like 7, 8 o'clock. But then like there's days where you get on it and you can just feel the lag just walking in from the starting zone, and you're just like, yeah, today's not the day.
Damn, that's frustrating.
It really
So
is, yeah.
you know what's weird though is whenever they do the mayhem events, I feel like I don't lag during the mayhem events.
the mid-year mayhem.
Yeah, the mid-year mayhem. Like
Yeah, I
it's
don't
usually like
know.
the most popular time,
Yeah.
and I don't feel it's like they only apply extra servers to offload the lag during the mayhem event. It's so weird. I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I wish I was like buddies with somebody up there like to get like a good answer on that, because I've been asking that same question, because Mid-Year Mayhem is the best time to play PvP, hands down. It's so fun. Like we went into we went into Greyhost during that, and there's the three factions, and we were on Brendel, and we were just like both factions were inside Brendel, one was sieging it, and it was partially laggy, but it was still so much fun because it wasn't like destroying the actual game. Like we were all still doing abilities, sometimes abilities wouldn't go off, but it was like so much fun.
So let me ask you this. So transitioning from PvP to PvE.
Yeah.
Generally, PvE has always been like the stronger part of ESO, right? Like you could agree that like they focused on a lot on the PvE content more so than PvP.
Yeah, they've pretty much only focused on PvE, to be honest. I mean, you have IC that came out. IC, I think, is probably the best zone in PvP. Like it's so fun. You have PvE and PvP mix.
IC? What's up?
Yeah,
Imperial City? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's super fun. Like the sewers and stuff like that. That's pretty fun.
yeah,
But
They
Open world. The only thing that they've really changed is they added a few different keeps.
you talking
You
about
can
in
destroy
Cyrodiil?
bridges. Yeah, in Cyrodiil, they destroyed bridges. They removed certain doors, and then they added a hammer. I don't know if you heard anything about.
Oh
the
yeah,
hammer.
that was a while back. That was a couple of
Yeah, so I mean that's
Couple
what I'm
patches,
saying. Like
right?
that's pretty much all they've really done.
Okay, but let's talk like from a PvE standpoint outside of PvP, like raiding, dungeons, trials, all that stuff. Is it called trials? I'm forgetting what it was
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
called. Yeah,
trials.
Trials is what the
Trials,
raids
raiding,
are.
whatever.
Yeah. Has that improved at all? And with the new champion point system, has it gotten a little easier to create diverse builds, or is it still like you're running the same meta stuff at end game? You're running the same monster sets. You're running, the same try and tested sort of builds that you do for every piece of content.
Yeah, so I mean, this pretty much goes for like any. I think for a majority of MMOs that have like PvE stuff in it. I mean, there's obviously a meta. If you want to do the maximum damage,
Yeah.
with this certain class or whatever, like you're gonna have to run this setup, right? That kind of changes with like a few, like it kind of changes with like certain classes, like mag DKs, only because like, so in the raid, they've kind of like, I don't want to say they screwed it up, but they kind of did some things where they probably shouldn't have done. They added a bunch of sets that buff basically, I mean, they buff both mag and stam, but nobody wants to bring in a stam comp because it takes away, like, you have to end up running too many debuff sets, right? So that kind of ties into like, it's only mag, right, at this point, and the only people that are really doing anything as of now are going to be like mag necros, and maybe you'll see some mag sorks and mag nightblades, and that's pretty much it. With the new PTS, you're starting to see like different classes, but the builds are pretty much all the same.
I see, but their stam is starting to come back a little bit on the PvE side, or it's still
Not
like
really, no.
really
No, they're pretty much just dead.
But like
damn.
Stam always like dominated PvP, right?
Yeah, stam is killing it in PvP. Stam and a nightblade,
It like still kills it, because I remember before like Stam was always like, well, not always, but usually like the top 3 meta builds were like always like a Stam like something.
Yeah, stam blades are killing it. Stam necros are pretty good. Stam DKs.
Are stand-ins still a
pretty
thing?
good. What's that?
Stand-ins still a thing?
Yeah, stand-ins, yeah, they're still pretty good.
I remember the only issue I had with like Stam builds were like they were almost always the same, because it was like they used so many like two-handed like skills and like bow skills that it was just like the same shit with just like a few class abilities thrown in.
Yeah, that's where like that class ability, like class identity, it
Still lacks.
still lacks it a little bit. I mean, why that is?
All right.
Like, why is Minion Mayhem the only time that PvP is
So
100% playable?
next question, and I'm probably gonna wrap up here in a little bit, but I want to. If you had a group of friends that were getting into this together, would you be able to get through the content with the trials and all that stuff in let's say within a month's time?
Oh yeah, easy.
Easy.
Depends on, so like that comes down to like how much are you guys going to like want to grind to get up to like CP?
What
You know
CP
what I mean?
do you have to be to do this? To do the type of stuff like the trials? It's 12 mans, right, for the trials?
Yeah, it's 12.
Okay, so like let's just use that as a baseline. Like 12. If you wanted to get 12 people together, how much CP do they need to be at to actually do the content?
So they make all the trials and like the dungeons, like DLC dungeons and stuff, where you can do them at 300 CP. Like that's where it's good. Like you should have no issues at 300 CP.
So that's like the baseline, right? Because I remember when I was leveling last year and doing all this stuff, like 160 CP was like you need to get to 160 CP for the gear, because that's when like
just to grind the gear,
right? Because once you get to 160, everything stops, right? Gear stops scaling at 160.
Right.
And then anything after that was just passive stats for your CP tree or the system.
Yeah, so you can basically just grind to 160, and when you start grinding your gear, I mean, you're gonna be 3, 4, maybe even 500 CP by the time you get done grinding your gear. Just because like if you do like a random normal and you do a random BG, or you're just like going through the dungeon farming your gear over and over again, you'll eventually get to like 3, 4, 500 CP. Just depends on how much gear you want to farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And is
There's
it
like a faster way to grind now? Like it's.
I remember
It's
it
ridiculous.
wasn't even dolmens that I did back then. It was there was that cave. That wasn't that cave. It was like this dungeon that we just ran in circles through and just power leveled. I remember I was doing it with
Skyreach,
Shroud and
probably?
Summit back then. Yeah, I think it was Skyreach. Wait, well,
Yeah.
Skyreach was the open world, but there was like this just cave dungeon thing that just had a bunch of dead mobs in it. And
No, that's Skyreach. Spellscar, yeah, Spellscar is the one where it's in Craglorn.
yeah,
and it's,
Spellscar was the one that was like really good XP, and then Skyreach was like right below that, right?
Yeah. So now there's like a better zone. It's in like this little arena, and you get fucking millions of XP. It's ridiculous. Like it's so good. It's in the bottom right hand corner of your map.
This is like something we've talked about in the community a lot, and it's one of those things where like ESO is like the perfect MMO. The only thing holding it back is the combat and the lag in PvP.
What do you not like about the combat? I hear so many people say that they don't like combat.
So it's a couple of things for me. One, class identity is pretty big.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Because I like playing multiple characters, and I like fulfilling multiple roles, and I like having an identity for each of those classes, right? Like a perfect example is like in BDO. When I go play Black Desert, I definitely feel different when I'm grinding on a Sork versus grinding on a warrior, right?
Yeah, okay.
So that's one thing for me that's been really huge. Also, I don't like how everything is so reliant on the bar swap system in this game, where every single class boils down to the same thing. Your back bar is your buffs and sort of like your buff upkeep and just keeping track and rotating through that. And then your front bar is usually where all your damage lies, right?
I mean, that's mainly because like your buffs are on like a shorter timer, right? So most buffs are anywhere from like 8 to 14 seconds.
Right.
That's mainly why. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but this is the reason why, right? So you have like mainly your dots and your buffs on back bar because they normally last 8 to 14 seconds. And then on your front bar, you front load it with your spammable, your execute if you have one, and then any other set that buffs your overall damage.
So somebody in chat said this. Aaron said, when you're familiar with the combat mechanics and animation canceling and ESO combat is amazing. I do agree with that. Because when I got deep into it last year and I started to learn how to animation cancel and, you know, the little intricacies in the combat, light weaving. Yeah, exactly. It felt really good. However, the learning curve for a new player, and not just that, but to translate that to a community that's trying to get into the game, a light bulb switched in my head when I finally got it. And I think that happens with a lot of players in this game. And what the issue that I see with that is a lot of new players aren't going to kind of go through that transition. They're just going to kind of get bored of it. They're like, oh, fuck, dude, I'm sitting here swinging. I'm getting heavy swing. I'm getting light weave. I'm getting staggered. I don't know what to do. And then they realize, oh, they have to light weave and all this stuff. And a lot of players are probably just not going to they're going to be like, fuck this.
100%.
So that's the only issue. That's one of the issues I have with combat. The other issue I have with combat is I feel like there's no impact when I do an ability in this game. It feels very floaty. When I swing a sword in even Lost Ark as a top-down game, I feel the weight to that animation.
Yeah.
Right? And in ESO, everything just feels like you're on roller skates.
Yeah.
Everything. The movement, everything. When you're swinging your sword, it just feels like it needs weight to it. Like, honestly, if ESO just was like, yo, we've been doing this for 6 years, whatever. I don't even know how long it's been. 6, 7 years. We're going to do a revamp of just the animations in the game. Like if they just did like an expansion where they just updated the animations, I bet you so many people would come back and play because it would feel like things have weight to it. And right now it doesn't feel like that. And I don't know if that's a limitation of the hero engine because that's what they use for this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wish it just had more weight, man. That's all it is. And honestly, like it's just a personal preference at the end of the day. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's the thing where I come back to why I left previously last year, right? Because I was going hard. You saw, I was like going every single day. I was playing ESO for countless hours, and we were getting up there. Like the 300 CP. Like we were starting to do. We did ICP. Yeah, we did ICP. Like struggled through all that stuff, but what I started to realize is one, PvP for me is very important, and I would get off of work at 6 p.m., start my stream at 8, and I couldn't play PvP. Like I would just lag out and be frustrated in PvP when I wanted to show PvP content on the stream. So it was like, it was one of those things where I was just like, fuck, man, I really want to show PvP, but like I play in probably the worst time to showcase PvP on the NA servers because I'm always lagging or it's just not fun. And admittedly, I probably didn't give it much more of a chance because I was just frustrated and I just moved on. But one thing I do want to, if I do end up playing ESO again, I want to look at the PvE content.